All right, my friends. At one point, we had encountered an event that provided us with a Tech 2 hulled sloop that's provided for by a Platinum, and I went through the design of how to create it, and here is the resulting ship tag. And like I said, I really like this. This just makes my life simpler than by doing it the way I do. There's read writable tape on the surface and regular tape, and then there's strips of tape along the paperwork. That way I can just easily pull them off and move them from one page to the next when I move them around. One of the things that I haven't determined was which one of my Platinums provided this ship. I also don't know their motivations and reasons for doing it, and I probably mentioned it in that video. One of those things that keep in mind, the colonial ship that brought everybody to the point we are was maxed out. So this sloop was not brought with it, and a sloop does not have enough range and fuel capacity to have traveled with the colonial ship to this region by itself. So at some point, the Platinum had to have a concept or an idea of the destination and made pre-arrangements somewhere along the line to hire, contract, and then find a way for this sloop to be transported to this region. And so it was just conveniently happened to be here so soon after the house's arrival, or something else is going on. But I am not in a position yet to do research and development on that to find out and ask questions about that sort of thing myself just yet, and I'm not ready to go down that rabbit hole anyway. But what I would like to know is which of the 6 Platinums that accompanied my house lord to this on this endeavor is behind this sloop. And I think that's something that's considerably reasonable. Now, one of the concepts, because of solo play, is as the solo player, you can make decisions. You can just decide this is going to be the Platinum who provided that ship. I can just automatically say my cartage Platinum, i.e. the person who's going to run my storage facility at the beginning, contracted this ship, because in a way that would make sense, because that's what they do. They're a shipping magnet. They're going to want to develop and increase their ability to involve themselves in commerce. But I could just as easily say one of these other persons did it too. And since it's a sloop and not a cargo ship, I just want to decide randomly. So our first colony breaks down, and I'm not going to go through all this, but I'll just give you a brief overview of what's here. With the colony are 6 Platinums. Their ranking is green, all who have contributed to the colony effort and are here with hopes and dreams of one day founding their own guild. We start out with an Agri Platinum, a Mining Platinum, an Industrial Platinum, a Refining Platinum, a Housing Platinum, and a Cartage Platinum. Also on board are the House Lord or Lady, ranking is tried, eager to settle claim the title Squire in the eyes of the Imperium. With him or her are 6 hand-chosen ministers who will work hard to make the dream a reality. Each ministry holds the seat of a soon-to-be house ministry from which the Lord's bureaucracy will grow. And then we go into the details on them. And then included with the colony ship is 1 drop shuttle armed with Tech 1 small craft scale weapons, the 2 scout ships, and the 2 mining ships, of course, which apparently I didn't bother to add to this list because no, it's further down here. Anyway, there are 100 ballistic pistols, 50 ballistic rifles, 100 suits of light body armor, 50 suits of personal body armor, 50 auto shotguns, and 150 Tech 1 melee weapons. So for the defense of the House Lord may form 1 home guard platoon, 1 militia platoon, and 2 protector service, i.e. the Lord's Secret Service platoons, or Royal Guard or something, although the Royal Guard's considered a different entity. The crews of the House small fleets are ranked tried, their officers are ranked at green. And then, of course, we have the 2 scout ships and the 2 mining ships. And then this is a one-shot colony ship. So the colony ship itself, once again, is dismantled upon colonization of the planet, so you can't retask it for something else. And then we go on about making the time count, exploring the planets, keeping a system map, keeping track of your colony, colonizing the world itself, the initial builds, planet build modifier, what it means, planetary growth modifier, what it means, planetary control sheet, how to track everything, keep everything straight, the colony's infrastructure and what it means, commerce and labor's planetary construction companies, what that means, how you stockpile materials to build things, storing stockpiled build needs, building the first building cues, how you this is what I'm going to build, this is how long it's going to take, and then this is the next thing I want to have and that I want to build next, and so I can start preparing to stack up material. It's important to note that not all manufactured materials are available to the house at the beginning. Some of this you will be dependent on either finding it or purchasing it from arriving traders and gypsies and other entities that carry it. Just like mineral resources, not all mineral resources are immediately available to the house. So you make use of what you can get. Meanwhile, that's what those scout ships are partially for to do. And those mining ships is to go out and find the missing MR, the mineral resources that you don't have in asteroid fields, moons and errants and other planets and other systems nearby. And those, of course, involve exploration roles and searches and things like this. Workers and techs and how you keep track of them and how they play out. Potentially mapping your first city so you have a visual idea of where things are. And we'll go back to the player. It's up to the player to just how much level of detail you want to put into it and how level the scale is going to work. So if you want to include things like personal interaction between ministers and ship captains or something, or you want to have spies spying on something, or you want to involve yourself in that level of things, you're going to want to have a bit more detail about the locations that you're doing these things in. So when we talk about the capital class colony, your cycles to-do list, planetary events, ship traffic rules, whether you choose to involve that, taxes, planetary tax base, you need the tax revenue to generate the credits you need to purchase the material that your ships you don't manufacture yourself, but also to pay your payroll. Workers don't work for free. You have to pay people. Property taxes or rent, landing fees, ways you generate additional revenue, your government expenses, military expenses, how your exchange works, components of an active exchange. It's a matter of, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here. Anyway, so I have 6 people, and so I'm just going to roll and go 1 through 6, and I rolled a 6. So ironically, and I did roll damn 6 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, there's 7. No, that's right. There's 6. Where you at? Right over here. There's 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So ironically, it is my cartage. The platinum, the sloop, and the cartage, platinum. Now, at some point down the road, I may want to have an investigation. I may want to investigate into why they have a sloop. Even though they're letting the house make use of it, which is mighty generous of them, there's obviously it's there for their benefit too in some manner, and we kind of want to know what's going on and what gives. Now, the reason I did that stuff was so now I have it, I know I have it, I can then utilize it, and I'm in my 5th round, right, of operations. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and use it to help further explore the solar system so I can get more of what's going on in the solar system. So I'm going to move it from the grassland planet, which I have yet to give a name to, and I'll go ahead and put it here at the bottom of this. And I've often, what I do when I get multiple ship tags and I start running out of space, that's why I'll put strips down the back of the page, and I'll be running tags down the back, and it's just convenient. You can do this using your laptop, your computer. It just takes a little bit more work. It's a matter of how you want to go and how you want to deal with it. So this will get one exploration roll, just like everything else. The system is currently 50% explored. We are on round number 5, which means the next cycle I will absolutely have to colonize, or I start losing population on my colony ship, and it expedites. You lose 1%, and then it's 2%, and then it's 10%, and so at some point your whole And every time there's a roll for determining the satisfaction factor, and at some point your surviving colonists are going to riot, and they're going to force the ship down, and it's going to settle on whatever. And I had during a test phase, I actually had took the worst case scenario and had them colonize a damn asteroid, and it was a brutal thing to try to do well. It wasn't impossible. It was just highly, very slow and very expensive to operate with. So, exploring our known system, we're going to do one, and we're going to use, let's see, where's the supplies at? Okay, so we're going to use 2 fuel, and we're going to use 1 ton of supplies. So, 24. 24 is nothing, so great. All right. We got cycle number 5, sloop, solar system, nothing. That brings us to 60%. And I'm going to go ahead and use my 2 scouts to do their 2 rounds of stuff. And this, of course, reduces their fuel and their supplies. And now each has 3 tons left over, which means they're only good for 3 more cycles before they absolutely have to be refueled and resupplied, or they need to redock with the colony ship, because if the colony ship absolutely has to relocate, even though I'm going to lose colonists to do it, then I need to be able to take my ships with me, or I'm going to be much harder pressed to take care of them if they're in a different solar system than where my colony starts out at, right? All right, so 50, 59, a large errant discovered. All right, so 70%, large errant. Now, what we call an errant is, think of a rogue planetoid that's bigger than an asteroid, smaller than a planet. Vaguely, it would be a moon if it was orbiting a planet. So now we have this smaller body that's floating around the solar system somewhere. So I'm going to say, all right, let's see, if this was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, this was 60. So somewhere out here I have an errant floating around, and there's nothing, I don't know anything about it, but I don't have time to, I'm not going to waste time to explore it just yet. And then so my other scout ship, let's see what we got here, brings us to 89, which is also a nothing. And I'm going to use that mining ship like I have been to make an exploration roll of the system. Brings us to 58, which is an additional errant. So 90% of the system is explored, and we have a large errant. That brings us to 90% of the system on this cycle. So that means on the beginning of cycle 6, the end of cycle 6, I have to colonize or I have to move. So at the beginning of cycle 6, I will make one last roll and get my system 90% or 100% explored, and that way I know what's in here and what's not in here. And we found another errant somewhere in here. Which tells us right now, so far we know is that in the solar system is 1 grassland planet with a moon and 2 very small planetoids floating out in space, and errants. I wonder if I can find that without spending an hour looking for it. I made an effort to put an index in the back because I know how much information and stuff is available, and it can be a pain in the backside to try to find things. So I made it an alphabetically placed index in the back. So errants are page 12. Yeah, right on the next page. Right, okay. Often called errant moons or planetoids, they are too small to be called true planets, too large to be rogue asteroids. Errants use the moon chart and follow the moon creation rules. The exception is mineral resources. Unless breathable errants contain only one unless breathable, areas contain only one primary mineral resource. Many areas can be found in the outermost regions of solar systems or next to or within asteroid belts and fields. And so it says here we can use the moon chart and follow the moon chart rules. So let's see if we can find the moon chart. Moon types, right? So because we encountered both errants, we can immediately tell whether or not they're breathable or not. And so we're going to roll to see which that is. It's very rare to find a breathable errant. And of course the sun comes out and it's blinding everything. Oh, the shade, it's a kind of a mixed cloudy bag out there, mixed sun. So anyway, we're going to check both errants. So I rolled a 66 and 66. So the first errant is a frozen rock, non-breathable. You can still, excuse me, you can still build on these things, but look at the build. The build modifier for this errant is 7.5, where the grassland is 1.5. So once again, if I'm going to build a housing concern on the grassland, I need 1 ton of something. I would need 1.5 tons on the grassland, but I would need 7.5 tons of that same 1 ton item on this non-breathable world, because we are now building a self-contained atmospheric proof building that can withstand the extremes of being on an airless rock in the middle of space. All right. Anyway, so let's roll ahead on this other errant just to see what we got. And I rolled a 2. And always cheeses me off when I find typos. There is a typo. There's so many. There's not very many. I keep finding them, but they're still there. Rocky planetoid is also non-breathable. So, rocky planetoid, non-breathable. And according to the rules, there would only be 1 MR on each one. So at some point, I will I will either have one of my ships, or my mining ship, or potentially my drop ship will travel to the errant and then do a sensor roll to see what kind of mineral resources there, because perhaps there'll be something on one of these that I do not have on my planet, and it would be worth building that horrific build modifier to build a mining operation there, or maybe to place a mining platform or something else there to help exploit that. And if nothing else, it might be worth sending the mining ship out there. Although the downside for the mining ship is, once again, the mining ship mines 1d10 for every MR that's in mass production. So if this as opposed to the 8 or 9 that are on the glassland, I'm going to get up to 80 or 90 tons of variety of tonnage versus up to 10 tons of one single item. So it would take longer to fill the hold on the mining ship and make it worth its effort. So it's a matter of what you need and how bad you need it, kind of thing. So, and that aspect, that brings us to the end of this chapter. Oh no, I have to go and go back to my mining ship here, and it's on the planet mining. And you know, I haven't given the net planet a name yet, so let's just give it I don't know, let's call it Fairwind. Fairwind, the grassland planet. And we will then go and do another round of mining for our mining ship, just so we can further stockpile stuff. And also didn't use any fuel up, so we still have nearly a full tank of fuel, but we are down to 3 tons of consumables for supplies on keeping the ship operating. We're going to do oxygen, and that's 3, so now we have 15. And now we have 13 for O2 for water. So when I do colonize and I officially open up my storage facility, my mining ship can also land and unload into that storage facility, which then immediately puts this stuff into the planetary exchange, which means I can then immediately remove it to start restocking some of these ships. It will take another cycle though for the production from those various factories to actually ramp up, and so my refinery will not start producing fuel until the cycle after I colonize. So if I colonize in cycle 6, then my ship will my factories will start producing in cycle 7, which allows me to start putting fuel back into these ships and keep them operating. So we've got argon, which is 4. Brings it up 10. So I also got to keep in track. This thing has a max of 100 tons. So right now I'm at 15, 28, 38, 48, 53, 63, 67, 97, 70, 71 tons. So MU, I'm going to add another 6 there. So now we're at 21 tons. And 77. So FE 8 plus 14, so 22. So 8, that's 85. So 4, that's 8. So 89. That means on my next cycle, mining ship can only mine an additional 11 tons before its cargo capacity is maxed out. And ideally, since I'm going to go ahead and colonize on that cycle too, then I would go ahead and choose to have my mining ship mine first. Then I can unload the entire content into the storage facility and have it available. So, and in addition to this, because of how I placed my MR, I have this is where, when you lay out your MR, when you decide what the planet's MR are going to be, this is generally the path that I follow when I mine things. So if I had put iron first and water second, my iron would always be the first thing my ship mined, and so potentially when I max the cargo capacity out, that one might be the one with the most material. So I mean, it's a matter of what you want it to do or what your needs are. Anyway, this is Rick, and you know the drill.